Hey everyone, it's me, Ranger Cowgirl. I'm here to do kind of a different video for y'all because I had a comment tell me to tell my story about the relationship with my mom and my sister-in-law. Well, I was going to tell y'all a little bit about that so y'all know me a little bit more personally. Well, I have a sister-in-law and her name is Nicole. And my mother's name is Michelle, so if you're wondering who those people are, those are who. But I started off was in my senior year, I was in my economics class, and we get this new student that walks in. And during this time, I don't have any friends, and I'm a little guarded when I meet somebody because I was being bullied real bad in school. And so this new student comes in and she walks in the door. I'm thinking, man, what a heifer. And she's staring at me and she won't quit looking at me. I'm like, what is this chick's problem? And she goes and she sits down on the other side of the classroom and we keep looking at each other, going back and forth, giving each other dirty looks. And I'm wondering, why are you looking at me? Look away. And kind of find out her name is, Amber Nicole, but I've always called her Nicole, and everyone else called her Amber. And we start talking, and we actually have a lot in common. So we start hanging out, and she actually decides to come over and hang out with me for school one day. So I'm like, after school one day. So I'm like, alright, cool. Because I didn't really hang out with that many girls because I was a very depressed girl when I was in school. Ain't that no more. I'm all happy. But she came home with me one day, and my brother Christopher, he's 2 years older than me, and he was picking me up from school, and she got in the car, and I noticed right away that he looked back at her. And I'm thinking, man, you better quit scamming on my friend. I just met this chick. And we get home, and they won't quit staring at each other. And he was dating this girl at the time. My brother was a player. And we go and we start hanging out in the living room and talking. I went onto the back porch for a second. And they were talking, and I'm like, okay, nothing bad, nothing can harm that, okay. And I come back in, and they start wrestling, and I'm like, okay, still nothing, huh? Whatever. And everything was alright, and then I hear I'm like, the hell was that? And he kissed her. I'm like, Christopher Bowden, you have a girlfriend. What is wrong with you? And I got on to him because that's little sister getting on to this new girl just brought her to the house, and I wasn't alright with that because I didn't know this heifer yet. And we wound up taking her home later that day, and she starts hanging out for the next couple of weeks. All the time. And my brother actually started dating, and I did not like the thought of that. I'm like, oh my god, I done brought some girl home my brother's dating. Great. Lovely. And a couple of weeks more passed by, and she got pregnant. Nobody was the least bit happy at all. And 6 months later, after, everyone had their... Everyone was just running around oh my god, she's pregnant, oh my god, what are we going to do? And I'm over here just sitting back watching. I'm like, oh my god, what are they going to do? And, they got married, and I was there for them. Because I'm a good sister. And Peyton is born on January 13th, 2009. And I couldn't have been happier because that was my very first niece. And I was a very proud aunt. I love you, Peyton, if you're watching. And I really wouldn't take anything back in the world because I love my niece. And I'm so happy that they met. And I told my brother, Christopher, I said, can you believe it? I introduce you to your wife. I did, so you're welcome. like Sadie from Awkward. But yeah, that happened actually recently, back on, I think it was August 15th, or in between the 15th and 18th, I think it was 15th, was their 5-year anniversary this year. So congrats to y'all. I'm very happy that y'all have made it this far. And me and my sister-in-law, we've been great friends. We've had our ups, we've had our downs. We have been through it all. And since they've been married, they had twin boys. And because twins run inside my family. And they were Austin and Case. And I actually got to name my nephew, one of the boys. And I named him Austin, because I loved it. And if I personally had a little boy, that's what I was going to name him. But instead, Nicole liked it a lot, so she used it, which I didn't mind. And the other one, his name was Kason. And they're just as cute as they can be. They turn 1 in January next year as well. And I was at, and then with my mom, me and her became very, very close back around February 2009. That was when everything changed for me. And I mean everything. I was dating this loser, and me and him and my mom, because she's a cool mom. She's not some old granny kind of person. She's a very hip, up to date, beat person. I'm sorry the camera keeps shaking. It's because you're on my vanity and it's moving. But she took me and my boyfriend. We all rode all the way up to Wild Bill's. It's this club in Georgia, the biggest club in Georgia actually. And we went up there on Valentine's Day because, hey, I was single. Well, single boyfriend. He was pretty much a friend with benefits. I'm no angel, whatever. I was 18. And we go up there, and I mean, we have a blast. But as soon as we walk in the building, Chris, the guy I was dating, he up and just disappears. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm still here with my mom. Alright. This is my very first time I'd ever been inside a club, so I was nervous. And within 5 minutes being in there, some old 35-year-old-ish man walks up to behind me, puts his hands on my hips, kisses me on my neck, and says, "What's up, baby?" I'm like, "No, nothing. Please get away from me." And he left. So I felt like my bubble was popped the moment I walked in that building. And then a few hours later in there, this really handsome man walks up to me and my mom, wanting to know why we weren't dancing, because I was still trying to like get into the mood. And the guy I had come there with, Chris, he was just gone. I didn't really care anymore because it was like on and off with him. And he thought I was like 20 something, and he thought my mom was my sister. I'm like, no, dude, I was 18, and she's a grandma, because Peyton had just been born. He was like, no way. I'm like, yeah. And he came and pulled up a chair and sat down with us and was talking, and he was dressed so nice, and he was so handsome. So we go out and start dancing because he asked me to. And I had such an awesome time dancing with this guy because he was just gorgeous. And he's drinking, so I know this man's tipsy. And he starts whispering things in my ear, and I'm like, I don't need to be hearing this. And after the dance, I told him, I'm like, thank you for the dance, I gotta go. And he was like, what? I said, thank you for the dance, I gotta go, that my mom needs me. I didn't know what to do. And I go back with my mom, and I tell her what he was saying to me. She's like, oh my god. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm messing my hair. But we finally found Chris after a few hours. Around 3 a.m. we left. And we get home, well, back to my mom and dad's house. And I dropped my mom off because I was going to go back to his house. It was Valentine's Day. I mean, come on. Anywho, me and him, we get back to his apartment, and he'd still live with his parents. Red flag number 1. And he was a hobo. But it was late. I had to be at work at 9 in the morning. And he went to go get out of the car, and he's like, "Are you okay? You look really tired." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm alright. I'm fine." He was like, do you need some coffee or something?" And I was like, "No, I'm okay. I promise I'm alright." I was so full of it. And he was like, "Well, alright, just please tell me you'll text me when you get home and tell me you're gonna be alright." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got this." Well, when I left, I was gonna go to a gas station and get an energy shot or some coffee, something to wake me up, because I was exhausted. Because before we went to the club, I cleaned 3 vehicles by hand, all by myself. No one helped me because I wanted to do it for my parents. Watch theirs and mine. And when I left, I had a good ride home. It was about 35-minute ride one way. And near my house, there was a really curvy road next to this creek or river, whatever you want to call it. And then you come up to this traffic circle where, you gotta go around a circle to go to the next direction instead of a 4-way. It's really stupid. But anyways, you know how you can be like watching TV one night and then you wake up the next morning like, how did I fall asleep? Well, after I passed around that circle, I kept on going straight, and then I could have sworn I was doing okay, and then all of a sudden it felt like my car was going off on the side of the road. And I opened my eyes, and I tried to turn my wheel back to the left, and I felt my wheel jerk out of my hand, and I collided into 4 trees going in between 60 and 80 miles per hour, and I totaled my car completely. The whole entire passenger side of my car was gone. It was frightening. And when I got out, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I felt my head right over here hit like the plastic of the seatbelt. That's like, here you pull it, it's that plastic part right there. I felt my head hit it, and I don't know how long I was knocked out. I have no idea. And next thing I know is I open my eyes, I see smoke coming out of the engine, so I freak out because I'm thinking in the movies, oh my god, my car is going to explode. So I take my seatbelt off, and I look to the right, and my whole entire car is crushed in around me. I don't know how in the world I survived it. I don't know how I didn't go through that windshield, but I got out of my car, and I felt like sharp pains in my knees. And I got out, and I walk over and to the middle of the road, and all you see is dirt and car parts everywhere. And I look at my car, and I scream because half my car was literally missing. It was gone. And I had only had my car in my name for 3 months. I had to get my diploma. I had to get my own insurance, get a job, do all sorts of stuff. Hang on a second. Okay, sorry about that. I had to go check on something, but when I saw my car, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it was gone. My gorgeous, beautiful sports car. It was a 2001 Grand Prix GT. Had the Bose system in it, the leather seats, the sunroof. I had the baddest ride ever, in my opinion. And I had earned that car. That was the very first thing ever that had been given to me that was just so amazing. And I was just so upset that it was just gone. My precious baby was gone. And no one saw this happen. There was nobody around. No one was going one way or the other, and I couldn't find myself, and I went and I looked back in my car, and I couldn't find it. So, like a dummy, I went and I sat in the middle of the road, just rocking myself back and forth, hugging my knees, just begging for someone to come and help me, because I was so upset. This happened like in between some woods. Like, there was a couple houses down the road, but not in front of someone's house. And next thing I know, cars pull up both ways, and there was this light blue truck, an old Chevrolet, that pulled up on the side of the road, and this elderly black man got out, and he ran to me and said, oh my god, are you okay? And I'm just bawling my eyes out. I'm like, yeah, but my car's messed up. And he was like, oh my god, you're bleeding. And I said, my head does hurt. And I put my hand right here where I knew I got hit. Pull my hand back and it's covered in blood because I got cut really bad right here. And my knees were hurting so bad. It was excruciating to stand up. And he was just being so nice to me, and he tried to touch my shoulder, trying to like pat me to tell me it's alright, and I screamed because I was in such pain. Next thing I know, I see blue lights and flashing red lights, and an ambulance was there, fire truck, and cars. Well, yeah, police cars, and next thing I know is I walked around to my car where an officer was standing there talking to another one, and I was like, oh my god, please call my parents, tell them what happened, please, because I was only 2 or 3 miles away from my house when this happened, and I wanted my parents to get there. Please, I just wanted my parents to be there. I didn't give a crap that I was 18 years old. I wanted my mom and my dad. And they said, oh, no, we can't do that. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. And I overheard one of the officers, like, do that little speaker walkie-talkie thing on his shoulder, and he said, yeah, the subject's okay. She's just sitting in the middle of the road, and she's walking around fine. She's alright. I'm like, you piece of shit. And DeKalb County is a horrible county if you live in Georgia. Never lived there. And next thing I know is I'm laying on my back in the ambulance, and they're having to cut my clothes off of me because I don't know if I had anything broken or not. I was in shock. And they start cutting my jeans, and I scream. They're like, oh my god, are you okay? I'm like, you're cutting my favorite jeans. And they're like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, they're my favorite flare jeans. And I was wearing flare blue jeans with this really nice black button-up shirt, and they're like, ma'am, are you being for real? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, alright. They still cut them off of me. And then I wound up going to the hospital, and oh yeah, they gave me a ticket for failure to maintain a lane, and the officer was having me sign this ticket while I'm laying on my back with Tweety birds going around my head, and I'm like, that was it. But I woke up in the ER room, and next thing I know is they're trying to take my shirt off next. And I was like, oh please, you already cut my jeans. I'm like, just let me take it off. And I cried the whole time because I didn't want my shirt to get cut too. And then I hear him say, well, she's going to have a catheter ASAP. I'm like, a what? And the only catheter I ever heard about was like a heart one. So I'm thinking, you are not putting something in my chest while I'm awake. And next thing I know is I feel them do the catheter, and I'm like, I don't think so, because I was still a virgin, and I did not want to be messed with down there. And next thing I knew, it took 5 nurses to hold me down while they did it, because that was just the most horrendous thing. I felt like I was getting raped, because I just experienced this car wreck. I was experiencing this. I wanted it to be over. My mom and dad weren't there. And about an hour later, they finally let my mom and dad back in, and they were just so upset. I was going in and out of consciousness, and it was horrible. And they wound up doing like x-rays and whatnot. I had bleeding on the stomach from where the seatbelt had started to cut into me. It made my stomach bleed, and then I had bleeding on the brain from where I hit my head. So they did a CAT scan, and the CAT scan / MRI came back. They were like, oh no. And I was like, what? What is it? Well, they pulled me and my mom over to the side. This few days later, my dad was at work, so they couldn't have been there. And they showed me this picture of my brain. And I'm like, alright, it's brain. What about it? And he was like, hang on, let me see. He's like, you see this here? And it was like a little circle. And I'm like, yeah. It was in the dead middle of my brain. It was like the size of a small lemon. And, oh, a lime. Think of a lime. Or, yeah, it could fit in the palm of your hand. And it was in the, like, going halfway through here, halfway through there. It was dead center of my head. And he said, this is a tumor. And I'm like, oh, what? He said, ma'am, you have a tumor and it's full of acid. And I'm thinking, lovely. And they said that they could do a biopsy or they could remove it. And I was like, well, if you're going in my head to do a biopsy, why not just take it all out? Get it done. 2 birds with 1 stone, you know? And pretty much this thing was full of acid in my head, and the scary part was it was growing. And there's only so much room in your head before it keeps growing and growing and then bursts. And acid is all over my brain. It would have killed me. And what they told me was that they had to remove it because of it growing. And if they hadn't, I would be dead in 4 years. Which, I had no idea I had this thing in me. My mom started to freak the you-know-what out. And I was bawling my eyes out because I was 18 years old and I was about to have brain surgery. I did not know what to do. I'm thinking, oh no, they're going to cut my hair. Because I didn't want to be like bald. And this is taking years to grow out. And I told the doctors, I said, I'm not doing this if y'all gonna shave my head. They're like, you're joking, right? I'm like, no, I'm not losing my hair too. I'm already losing my brains, my car, and my jeans, and you're not taking my hair. And he actually went back and he did this little sketch of how he could go in my head. 1 second. Alright, let's try this again. But back to where I was. They told me they were going to go in my brain and remove this thing. And finally, a week later, they get me prepared. And they put on this little blue cap. And I'm acting like, it's alright. It's cool. I got this. But once I get to the back room where they're going to do it, they get me up on this table. And then they strap my arms down. And then that's like when it all hits me. I start to freak out. And I started crying, and then they're like, it's okay, you're going to be alright. But the doctor told me there's 50% chance I wasn't going to make it because it was working on my brain. And I was willing to take the chance because I didn't want to die. And they wound up putting the mask on me. Next thing I know is that it was done 9 hours later, and they told my mom that I wouldn't be able to make any facial expressions for at least 2 or 3 days. Or even speak. The next thing I know is when I wake up, my mom, my dad, my grandma Jeannie, and my Uncle Jason, they were all standing around me, around my bed, just crying upset because they said my head was ballooned up so bad. And my mom and my grandmother were like, say something, Kay, please, say something. And they told me all I could say was, I hurt. And I smiled at them. And they started bawling their eyes out because I defied what the doctors had said. I made a facial expression and I spoke. That was huge. And when I went back to the ICU room to recover. I need to remind y'all, I was in ICU this whole time. I was in ICU for 6 weeks at the hospital, fighting for my life. I'm sorry, it's a little emotional and it's hard to think about. But for the longest time, I couldn't even turn my head this far to the right without screaming in pain. It took me months to be able to learn how to turn my head to the right. I had to relearn how to eat, how to walk, how to speak correctly. Moving my left hand, it took me a long time before I could do that again. Still to this day, my left side is a little bit slower than my right. I'm not like blinking one eye at a time. I'm not like that. But like through these videos, you'll hear me like stuttering or getting my words mixed up. It's because of that surgery. And it's aggravating. And it always has a memory going back in my head. You nearly died. This what had to happen for you to live. And during this time, my mom was up there almost all the time. If she could be up there, and if I let her there because I didn't want to be messed with. Because I was getting 3 shots a day in the stomach to make sure I was okay. And it was just horrible. And she was really there for me. And I never forgot it. And it's just something like, ever since then, me and her have been like super, super close. She's been my best friend. And like, me and her will go shopping together. We'll get in the kitchen and cook together. She'll call me or I'll call her just to chit chat, or I'll ask her opinion about this. Does this makeup look good on me? Does this make me look fat? I'm just kidding. I don't say that. But ever since then, it's just something just clicked where we were just closer. And she's got my back. I've got hers. I'll never let nothing bad happen to her. And I know she wouldn't let that happen to me. And that's just how it is for me now, is my mom has become my best friend, because I don't really ever see Nicole that much anymore, because I moved with my boyfriend Cody, and we live about an hour and a half away from Nicole and my brother and my nephews and my niece. But my mom's like in the middle, and I have to see her every weekend because we work together every weekend. So every weekend I spend time with her, which I don't mind. We do have our arguments every now and then, but it's not that bad. And I've actually been working with my mother every single weekend since I was 12. And we place real estate signs on the weekends that lead you to newly built subdivisions. And yeah, she'll tell me all the time how much she loves me, and I know she does, and I love her too. And she did not want me to move out when I did. She was so upset, because it was just her, me, and my mom, and my dad. Well, yeah. And now it's just her and my child Chloe, because she watches her for me, because there's just too many animals over here. Because Chloe's like used to being center of attention. And I enjoyed it being just me and her all the time. But, you know, I had to grow up, move on. So I did. But yeah, pretty much that's like why I stutter, why I mix words up, and a little about my sister-in-law Nicole and my mother. And I wanted to share that with y'all. Please tell me what y'all thought of this, because it was it was a little hard for me to do this, because it takes a lot for me not to like cry, because I'm not a big crybaby. But please tell me what y'all thought, like down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.